3 months ago, I was living in a $2.5 million house in California with a view of Los Angeles. Today, I'm 47 years old, broke, and holding a letter that proves my entire life has been a lie. My name is Fletcher Morrison. Until recently, I was a successful insurance adjuster. I had the American dream, a beautiful wife of 18 years named Cordelia, and 2 incredible teenagers, Quinn and Brina. We had the perfect life, private schools, luxury cars, and a marriage I thought was rock solid. I had no reason to question any of it. Then, about 18 months ago, the shift happened. It started with small things. Cordelia would take phone calls outside. She came home late, claiming new clients. She looked at me like I was a stranger she barely tolerated. My son, Quinn, asked why Mom was always angry. My daughter, Brina, started spending all her time in her room, drawing dark, broken portraits of families. I tried everything to reconnect. I planned date nights. I suggested therapy. I tried to be the perfect husband. But nothing worked. If anything, my efforts just made her colder. Then came the divorce papers. It wasn't just a separation. It was a full-scale attack on my existence. Cordelia's lawyers claimed I was a compulsive gambling addict, hiding massive debts. They accused me of stealing from clients and being financially unstable. It was insane. I've never gambled in my life. I don't even play poker with friends. But they had proof. Terrifyingly detailed proof. They produced bank statements showing withdrawals I never made. They had casino receipts with my forged signature. They even had witness statements. This was the hardest part to swallow. A coworker from my office swore he'd seen me placing bets on my phone. My own neighbor, Jerry, a guy I'd had beers with, signed an affidavit saying he'd watched me become erratic and desperate. None of it was true, not a single word. But the documentation was perfect. The court process was a slow, humiliating nightmare. I had to undergo a custody evaluation with a court-appointed psychologist. I sat there for 3 hours while she asked me about my addiction. When I told her I wasn't an addict, she just nodded and wrote down that I was in denial. The final hearing destroyed me. I sat there watching my life get dismantled by lawyers who spoke about me like I was a criminal. My own wife, the woman I shared a bed with for 18 years, wouldn't even look at me. When the judge awarded Cordelia everything, the house, primary custody, and my business assets, I felt something physically break inside my chest. The worst moment happened in the parking lot after the trial. Cordelia walked up to me with a cold, satisfied smile I had never seen before. She leaned in close and whispered, "You'll never see Quinn and Brina again. I'm moving them to Portland next month, and you don't have the money to fight me anymore." That's when I knew this wasn't just a marriage failing. It was calculated cruelty. I lost my insurance license because of the fabricated financial misconduct allegations. I was completely destitute. I had nowhere to go except back to Ohio, to my mother's house that had been sitting empty since she died 2 years ago. I loaded what was left of my life into the back of my old Toyota and drove 1,200 miles. The drive took 3 days, and every mile felt like I was traveling backward through time. By the time I pulled into the driveway in Akron, I felt like a ghost returning to haunt his own past. Walking into that house was overwhelming. It smelled like lavender soap and old books, exactly how my mother left it. She was a librarian who raised me alone after my dad died. She was the strongest woman I knew, always making ends meet with a quiet dignity. For the first few weeks, I was paralyzed. I barely left the living room couch. I would wake up every morning hoping it was a nightmare, only to see the water stain on Mom's ceiling and remember that my old life was gone. I spent hours staring at the wall, wondering what Cordelia was telling the kids. Did they think I abandoned them? Did they believe the lies about me stealing? But eventually, the self-pity turned into a cold rage. I realized that if I was going to have any chance of getting my children back, I needed money. And this house was the only asset Cordelia's lawyers couldn't touch. It was mine, free and clear. I made a plan. I would renovate the house myself, make it shine, sell it for top dollar, and use every penny to hire a lawyer who could expose Cordelia's lies. I threw myself into the renovation with desperate energy. I stripped wallpaper, sanded floors, and painted every room. Working with my hands felt good. Every nail I hammered, every wall I painted was a small act of fighting back against the people who tried to destroy me. Finally, I tackled the basement. It was the last area. Mom had used it mainly for storage, and it was packed with decades of accumulated stuff. Boxes of Christmas decorations, old photo albums, my school projects from elementary school. It was emotional going through her things, remembering the woman who raised me to be honest and hardworking. It reminded me of who I really was, not the criminal Cordelia painted me to be. I started clearing out the corner where the old furnace sat. It was an ancient unit, converted to gas in the 90s, and it hadn't been moved from its original position in 30 years. But as I moved the boxes away, I noticed something strange. The concrete floor around the furnace base looked disturbed. The color was slightly off compared to the rest of the basement floor. I got closer and saw scratch marks, deep grooves in the cement. They looked recent, not 30 years old. It looked like someone had dragged something heavy across the floor, or like the concrete had been broken and patched up hastily. I knelt down to examine them closely, and my heart stopped.